Close your eyes for a moment and breathe deeply. Place your hand gently over your heart. There, just like that. Can you feel it? A quiet shift is already happening within you. This is not about believing in something. You will sense it. The technique I'm about to reveal is not born from the pages of a book, but from a place beyond time, where healing is not forced but allowed to blossom. When you awaken it, your body knows exactly what to do. For centuries, this knowledge remained veiled, not because it was too difficult, but because it was so simple that it could not be owned or traded. Thoth preserved it within the halls of a Amenti for those who would one day realize that illness was never the enemy. It was a message. And once that message is heard, the body remembers its perfection. Today, you will learn how to listen to that message and let it guide you back to balance. At the end of this video, I will share with you the exact steps. But first, you must cross the threshold into the part of yourself you've ignored the longest. Are you ready? If something inside you has already begun to resonate with these words, click the like button right now, so I'll know that you too are aligned with this truth and ready for what we will awaken together. And if you feel that our work here inspires you, consider supporting us by joining the channel. More than a subscription, it's a gift that allows this space of awareness to keep thriving. Healing isn't about acquiring something new, but removing what prevents your essence from shining. Thoth said that true initiates are recognized not by words, but by vibration, because they don't carry formulas, they carry memories. And now you are among them, because you have returned. You have listened to yourself, and this is the beginning of everything. In the most ancient texts, it becomes clear that the flesh is only the shadow of the inner light, that everything you call a symptom, pain, fatigue, or imbalance is merely the physical form of something that began long ago, in a place you can't see but can always feel. That place is the invisible field of your consciousness. The body does only one thing. It translates. It translates your frequency, your constant emotional vibration. What you think and feel repeatedly begins to form an energetic density, and that density begins to exert pressure on the body. An emotion held back for a few days might go unnoticed, but if held back for months, even years, it acquires vibrational mass. And when the matter can no longer hold it, it gives way, and then you call it disease. But the real name for this is accumulation. You don't have a sensitive stomach. You have truths you've never digested, words you've swallowed dry, situations you wanted to vomit but had to keep inside. This is what weighs you down. This is what eats away at you from within. You don't have knee problems because you're getting older, but you're afraid to kneel before life, afraid to give up, afraid to relinquish control. And because of this, your body tenses, screams. Your lungs are weak, you have unspoken words, repressed cries, pain that has never left your chest. Thoth called it an echo, and said that the body is the echo of the soul, that what the soul can no longer bear alone, the body absorbs. But this doesn't happen overnight. Pain only appears after every other attempt at communication has failed. The body screams only when all whispers have been ignored. That's why it has never been your enemy. It's the messenger. And what hurts isn't in it, it's in the field that flows through it, in the vibrational accumulation that you didn't see forming, but which was formed, and which recorded everything, because the body is the final archive of your emotional history. When Thoth said not to treat the consequence, he wasn't denying medicine or physical healing. He was saying not to stop there, because if you only silence the symptom, the field remains disorganized, and sooner or later the body will scream again, somewhere else, with a different intensity. And it will continue until you return to the beginning. You won't ask yourself where all this began. The answer is never in medicine or in diagnosis. It's in the vibration, in the pattern you've repeated for so long that the body can no longer compensate. And that's why it gets sick, not from weakness, but from too much loyalty to what you couldn't change on your own. The body is loyal, even when it costs its own health. It adapts to what you feel, tries to protect you, stays silent, does everything it can to stay balanced. But there comes a time when it can't take it anymore, and at that moment, it reveals it. And when it reveals it, if you're paying attention, you understand. Pain isn't the end, it's the beginning of the return. This perspective changes everything. Because now you don't treat the body with war, trying to repair it, eliminate it, or erase it. Now you treat it like a sacred mirror, a map. And if you observe with presence, It will show you exactly where the vibrational misalignment lies, where you stopped listening to yourself, where you began to abandon yourself. Thoth said that the body is the field where the spirit makes its last attempt to reach you, that every organ has its own language, that every part of you speaks, but only when you listen without judgment does that language become healing. From this moment, a new way of relating to your body begins. Not as something that needs repair, but as a sensitive instrument that responds to the energy you cultivate. Healing doesn't begin in the hospital. It begins the moment you understand that nothing in there is random, that everything carries a message, that every imbalance is an invitation to listen to the broken field where illness begins before it manifests. When you begin to see the body not as a problem but as a mirror, everything changes. Because the root of the imbalance isn't in matter, it's in the field, an invisible yet completely real field that surrounds you and flows through you at every moment. A field made of frequency, vibration, and energetic information that you yourself emit, consciously or unconsciously. Thoth said that this field is the true body, that the flesh is merely a shadow of the field, that everything that appears on the skin, in the blood, in the bones, was already written before, like a misaligned code that vibrates dissonantly. The field is the mold, the body is the cast. If the mold cracks, the cast breaks. There's no other way, it's simple, direct, non-negotiable. And what cracks this field? What disorganizes this invisible structure that holds your health together? Repressed emotions, old fears, inherited beliefs, words you've swallowed, situations you've lived and pretended to forget, but which still vibrate there, like background music you don't notice yet that influences everything you feel. A childhood trauma, for example, can remain active in the field for decades, even if you no longer remember it. Because the field doesn't need memory to maintain its vibration. It carries with it the energetic memory of what has been felt and unresolved. Rejection, abandonment, injustice. All this takes shape in the field, and when you don't welcome it, it distorts. That distortion isn't visible to the naked eye, but it affects everything. Your mood, your breathing, your sleep, your immunity, until the body intervenes and manifests itself, and you call it disease, when in reality it's just a warning, a reflex, an urgent request for realignment. Thoth said that the body obeys the field like a river obeys its bed. If the riverbed is crooked, the river has no choice but to follow it. If the field is flawed, the body will reflect it. And this isn't a punishment, it's energetic coherence. Energy doesn't lie, it simply responds to what you vibrate. Bruce Lipton, thousands of years later, confirmed this principle. He demonstrated that the energetic environment around your cells changes your biology more than your genes. That cells adapt to the internal chemistry created by your emotions and thoughts. If you constantly experience fear, your cells learn to live on high alert. And that constant state of alert wears you down, inflames you, and weakens you. The problem is that you've been conditioned to believe that only what's visible exists, that only what science can measure is real. And meanwhile, you're controlled by forces you can't name, but you can feel. Internal, silent forces that emanate from your field and shape your reality without you even realizing it. And this is where Thoth's forbidden technique comes into play, because he didn't heal with formulas, he reorganized the field. And when the field reordered itself, the body adjusted itself through resonance, like a musical instrument that returns to the right tuning when the vibration harmonizes. But this doesn't happen with force or effort, it happens with listening. Listening to the field is the first step, listening where it's weak, where it's dense, where it's cracked. And this kind of listening doesn't come from the mind, it comes from feeling, from silence, from presence. That's why the pain you feel today could just be the echo of something you didn't want to hear then, a grief you never knew existed, processed emotion, a swallowed frustration, an ignored guilt. And as you ignore it, the field becomes disorganized. And that disorganization expands until it finds the most vulnerable point in the body. It could be the heart, if you're harboring old resentments. It could be the throat, if you've never felt heard. It could be the gut, if you're trying to control everything. Every part of the body is a mirror of a specific point in the field. And this map isn't theoretical, it's vibrational. You feel it, you recognize it even without understanding it. This is why so many people seek treatment but aren't healed, because they heal the body, but the field remains in disarray. And as long as the field is misaligned, the body will continue to obey the vibrational disorganization, like a mirror reflecting a broken image. And it's when you begin to realize that the field vibrates before the body responds that a new kind of listening emerges. A listening that uses not the ears, but silent attention. The body speaks at every moment. The problem is that you've been taught to silence it, to numb it, to mask it, to run away from the symptom, but never to understand it, and understanding is what transforms. Thoth said that the body is the altar, and like every sacred altar, what manifests there is not punishment, but revelation. The soul kneels before this altar to be heard, not listened to with words, but perceived with presence. With every pain that emerges, the soul begs to be heard. But how do you respond? With haste, with judgment, with denial. And that's why the pain increases, because what was once an ignored whisper becomes a desperate scream. But the body doesn't want to hurt you, it wants to show you, it wants to remind you, it wants to give back to you everything you've pushed into the darkness, everything you've tried to hide, even from yourself. It doesn't invent anything, it only reveals. And this revelation follows a map, a vibrational map that Thoth recorded not as a metaphor, but as a coded language within the living temple of the body. A language that speaks through sensations, symptoms, tensions. And if you begin to listen to this language, you begin to understand what needs to be released. In the throat, the pain isn't just physical, it's the truth trapped inside. Words you wanted to say but didn't have room for, emotions left half-formed, screams you swallowed and now trying to escape somehow, through pain, coughing, constriction. In the shoulders, the weight isn't just muscle, it's the burden you carry for everyone, the guilt, the obligation, the responsibility to support the entire world, even when you're falling apart. The shoulders hold what you haven't been able to let go of, and that's why they're heavy. In the heart, the constriction isn't accidental, it's the love you haven't experienced, the love you've repressed, the love that hasn't been expressed or rejected. Your heart aches when you love in silence, when you pretend not to feel, when you close yourself off to avoid further suffering. But all this vibrates, and your body stores it in your skin. The itching, the inflammation, the discomfort. These are the shames you've tried to hide, the parts of yourself you've rejected, the image you've created to be accepted while hiding who you truly are. Your skin responds to the gaze of others, and above all, it responds to your own judgment. Every organ carries a message, every pain is a vibrational word. The body speaks as if writing incomplete sentences, and every symptom is a comma where you should have stopped, a verb where there was no action, an exclamation point where you remained silent. This language doesn't require technical translation. It requires sensitivity. You don't have to know everything, you just have to start asking yourself, what is this pain trying to tell me? Where have I abandoned myself? And what truth have I refused to face? Because every pain has a vibrational point of origin, and when you find that point, healing begins. And this listening cannot be rushed. It requires pause, presence, and, above all, an absence of judgment. The body doesn't make mistakes. The body is saving you, revealing what the mind has censored, translating what the soul has been unable to express, doing everything possible to bring you back. Thoth called this listening sacred, and said, the body never punishes, it communicates that pain is the last resort, that the field always begins by whispering. But if ignored, it transforms the whisper into discomfort, then into tension, then into pain, and only then into illness. For the soul, when it wants to be heard, finds a way. And if you refuse to listen with awareness, you will listen with the body. The focus is the instrument. Where you look, the field vibrates. I think that everything you contemplate with intention, with real presence, with living emotion, becomes solid, not as a metaphor, but as a tangible reality. Because energy obeys the consciousness that does not waver. Matter is only the last link. The beginning is in the gaze, in the focus, in the exact point where your attention lands. And we're not talking about random thinking. Thinking isn't focusing. Focus isn't vague thought. Focus is a living presence. It's what you vibrationally support with what you feel while observing. And Thoth warned, the field responds to what you support, not to what you superficially desire. If you say you want healing but vibrate fear of pain, the field will respond to the fear. If you say you want lightness but focus on what weighs you down, the field will vibrate density. And then you'll think nothing's working, that you're stuck, that there's no way out. when in reality all that's missing is the vibrational coherence between what you say and what you support. And here's the key that almost no one sees. Focus is a transmitter. Wherever you place your focus, there your energy goes, and where your energy goes, the field begins to shape itself. Focus is an invisible paintbrush that redraws your subtle field. But this brush doesn't work with haste or anxiety. It vibrates clearly only when you're present, when what you feel and what you focus on are on the same frequency. Thoth said, "Simplicity is the gateway to power," and that anything that seems too complex is usually meant to distract you. And that's true, because the human mind has been trained to seek out complicated formulas, as if the sacred could only exist hidden in something unattainable. But the sacred vibrates in simplicity, in the obvious, in what has always been before you. Closing your eyes and focusing on the warmth of your hands, feeling the rhythm of your breath coming in and out, observing the area of your body where there's pain, but without judgment, just presence. This already changes the field, because where you bring conscious attention, you bring light, and where there's light, there's vibrational order. And where there's order, healing begins. You don't have to repeat mantras if your mind is absent. You don't have to practice visualizations if you vibrate with distrust. None of this is beyond the surface if your presence isn't fully there, because energy doesn't respond to the quantity, but to the quality of the vibration you're emitting in this moment. So try it. Place your focus on a point in your body that's expressing pain today. Don't analyze it, don't judge it, just observe it. Feel what's pulsating there, what's vibrating, what emotion lies beneath. Don't try to heal it. Simply be there, completely, and watch what begins to change when your focus becomes a bridge. This simple practice is one of the most forgotten because it seems too easy, but that's precisely where the secret lies. Focus aligned with emotion is the most direct tool for vibrational reorganization. It costs nothing, requires no physical effort, but it demands something rare, true surrender. And as you practice this focus, the field begins to obey, begins to reorganize. And when the field changes, the body changes, because the body is a reflection, a consequence. There's no point in trying to repair the mirror if what's broken is the face it reflects. You don't need control, you need consistency. Energy responds to what is held truthfully, consistently, and focus is the channel through which that truth begins to vibrate with precision. It's the bridge between the soul and the body. And if you know how to use it, you'll understand that you don't have to force anything, just hold it. And when you hold your focus truthfully, something in the field begins to pulsate differently. But for that vibration to become a stable reality, an even more ancient force is needed, a code so subtle that most people ignore it, because it happens all the time but almost never with awareness. It's what Thoth called the living bridge between the worlds, the breath. Breathing isn't just biology, it's language, it's energetic direction, it's a signal. With every inhalation, you allow the invisible to enter. With every exhalation, you release something that was blocked. Breathing is a dance, an exchange between planes, a vibrational movement that organizes or disorganizes everything around you, depending on how you do it. Thoth said that breath is the invisible thread that connects soul to flesh, that without awareness of your breath, you live divided, fragmented, torn between spirit and body. But when your breath becomes conscious, you begin to mend that separation, you begin to return to yourself, you begin to gather what was shattered. Notice how you breathe. When you're afraid, it's short, rapid, almost non-existent. The air doesn't descend, it stays in your chest, blocked, and the field blocks with it. The body interprets this as a threat and responds with tension, constriction, rigidity. Now look at how it feels when you're at peace. The air flows like a river, moving, liberating. The body surrenders, the field aligns. This is why Thoth said that breathing with presence meant aligning the invisible with the visible, because the breath is the entry point, the beginning of the journey. And where everything comes in, everything can also go out. If you inhale with intention, you invite the new. If you exhale with truth, you release the old. Breathing is the most accessible code for vibrational reprogramming. But what almost no one knows what you know is that your breathing pattern contains memories. It has been shaped by trauma, shock, loss, words you couldn't respond to, situations where you remained silent. And each of those experiences has been recorded in your breathing. That's why changing your breathing isn't just relaxing, it's healing deep patterns. It's opening internal doors that have been sealed for years. And the most incredible part is that you don't need anything external, just presence. Feel the air coming in. Feel where it wants to go but is blocked. Feel the point in your body where it stops, and observe without forcing, without trying to control, just let it happen. And when you allow, the body begins to release, because the field understands that the soul has returned. That release is subtle but real. It's when the tightness in your stomach begins to soften, when the lump in your throat begins to dissolve, when the tension in your shoulders begins to dissolve, without effort, without struggle, just with the present breath. Because presence has this power. It organizes chaos without having to fight it. Healing hands. The forgotten memory of sacred touch. You activate an ancient code that has been dormant within you since birth. And it's in your hands. Yes, your hands, the ones you use every day, but rarely with presence. Thoth said that touch is the gesture of the spirit moving in the world of form, and there is no separation between intention and matter when the hand moves with soul. Touch is not just contact, it is transmission, it is vibration condensed into gesture. When you place your hand on a point of your body with true attention and affection, you are not just making contact, you are channeling, you are reorganizing, you are saying without words, I see you, I feel you, I recognize what has been denied for so long. A child does this instinctively. He places his own hand where it hurts, touches the area of discomfort. And in that moment, a pause occurs, a reconnection. Because he still remembers. He has not yet been taught to forget. To forget that touch is sacred, that the hand is an extension of the soul, that the skin responds more quickly to affection than to medicine, and you too can remember. Thoth's forbidden technique was never something to be learned, it is something to be recognized, something that emerges from silence. Because it is only when the internal noise subsides that you begin to realize you have always known it. Place your hand on your chest, on your stomach, on your forehead, on the point that is calling your attention now. But bring no doubt, bring no rush, bring no judgment, bring presence, bring listening, bring surrender, and wait, because the body will begin to respond. But it responds only in silence, in the space between what you expect and what you truly feel. Silence is where energy communicates without rehearsal, where healing occurs without ritual, where the sacred manifests effortlessly. Thoth called this space the veil between the worlds, where the dense begins to dissolve, where the mind loses control and the soul takes over, where everything reorganizes because you finally stop blocking the flow. You've spent your life trying to fix, searching for techniques, believing you should do more, know more, push harder. But energy has never responded to the urgency. It has always responded to surrender. When you stop, everything begins to align. When you breathe without seeking, just feeling, when you stop trying to understand and simply allow, when you step away from control and make space, you don't become healed, you become whole. And that's when the field begins to act on its own. The intelligent field, which has been waiting for your ego to make room for wisdom to work. And this is where most people shy away, because this space is too simple, too quiet, too subtle. But it's at this exact moment that you begin to remember, and what you remember can never be forgotten, because in this void filled with presence, you recognize yourself. And when that happens, the idea of healing disappears, and you realize that you never needed healing, you just needed to remember who you are. Thoth's forbidden technique, the ritual of the invisible healer. And now you find yourself facing the most powerful point of this journey, remembrance. For this has always been the case. Not learning something new, but remembering what was hidden within you so well that not even time could erase it. Thoth taught that the diseased body is not an enemy, but a mirror covered in dust. And the forbidden technique he transmitted to the initiates in the temples was not miraculous because of its complexity. It was forbidden precisely because it was too simple, because it did not rely on medicines or external tools, only on your present, coherent, real vibration. And if you have come this far, it is because the code has begun to pulsate within you again. This vibration is ancient but alive. You are not broken, you are misaligned. And realigning is not repairing, it is returning. Returning to what you were before the guilt, before the haste, before forgetfulness. That's why, before showing you how to apply this sacred technique, Thoth would say, do not approach hastily. Vibration does not flourish in haste. It flourishes only when you are fully present. And fully does not mean painless. it means available. The invisible healer's ritual begins when you become available to yourself. Choose a space where you can be, without hiding. It doesn't have to be beautiful or special, it just has to be sincere. A floor, a chair, a sunlit corner. This will be your living temple. Return there every day, even if only for 5 minutes, because vibration is built in the return, not in the show. Then sit down, close your eyes, place your left hand on your heart and your right on your abdomen. Bring your breath to the center of your chest. Inhale for a count of 4, hold for 4, and exhale for a count of 8. Repeat 7 times and forget about the clock. As you breathe, the energy begins to obey, not by force, but by resonance. And when you're finished, don't open your eyes yet. Remain in silence for 3 minutes, expecting nothing. Just feel, listen without searching, let your body speak. The field organizes itself when you stop pushing. Now choose a spot on your body, any spot where there's discomfort or just a subtle call. Place your hands there, feel the warmth of the touch, and repeat silently, I see you, I feel you, I am with you. This is the language of the living temple. The body understands what the mind cannot translate. Finally, place your hands in the center of your chest and say, Today I held myself. And that's enough, not as a mantra to cheer you up, but as a vibrational seal. You're not trying to heal, you're teaching your energy to stop running away from itself. Do this for 7 to 15 minutes a day. Don't expect immediate results. Prepare yourself for coherence. Prepare yourself for reconnection. Prepare yourself for truth. Technique doesn't require perfection, it requires consistency. Because it's not about doing, but about sustaining. And the more you sustain your presence, the more your original frequency returns. Thoth said that true initiates are recognized not by words, but by their vibration, because they don't carry formulas, they carry memories. And now you are among them, because you have returned, you have listened to yourself, and this is the beginning of everything. If you've come this far, it's because something inside you has already begun to remember. Sometimes, the greatest turning point is not a leap forward but a quiet pause. In that pause, you feel the weight you've been carrying and, for the first time, choose to set it down. You see that you were never broken, only hidden from your own light. This is where the real journey begins. If today's words have touched something timeless inside you, please like this video, write the word Haven in the comments to seal this vibration into the field, and subscribe to the channel to keep walking together. I'm deeply grateful for your energy and your presence here. May every breath bring you closer to yourself, and may your path be paved with moments that remind you of your own strength. Walk as light, and see you soon.